Hello and welcome to You Sew You. My name's Zoe and this is my channel about all of the crafty bits and pieces I get up to. I knit, I sew, I crochet, I do a little bit of inkle weaving, and I dabble in all sorts of other bits and pieces from time to time as well. So grab a brew, sit your feet up and settle in for the first episode of 2020. Welcome back to any returning viewers, and to any new viewers a very warm welcome to you too. We've got a few bits and pieces to show you today. I've got some works in progress, some nearly finished objects, there's one massive finished object behind me, and a little bit about my plans for 2020 moving forwards. So without further ado, let's get started with what I am wearing. Now this is a Freya dress, which is Atelier and the Buttons pattern from her book Stretch, and I've made it in a stretch velour. I made it about a year or so ago, in time for Christmas last year, as in 2018, and it was one of my early Minerva makeup makes. So if I just stand up and give you a little bit of a view of it all if I can. Oh, not quite, I've got the camera far enough back to get you the hemline, but it is above the knee, so it's sort of tunic length, and the options in the book give you a top length as well as a like tunic dress length. There are sleeve options and there are neckline options. I've gone for the cowl neck because winter snuggliness, and it's really comfy to wear, so I really enjoy wearing this one. I have made Freya tops before in a bright yellow floral scuba, and I can see myself making more as well because they are so comfy. So that's what I am wearing. Moving on to finished objects. Now I've only got the one finished object to show you today, and it's a doozy, but if you want to look back over the finished objects that I made for gift knitting over Christmas, or over December rather, in time for Christmas, there is a standalone video as part of my Vlogmas series which goes through all the gift knits that I made during that time, and that will be, I'll link to the Vlogmas playlist down below, and if I remember, the video itself as well. So behind me I have my finished object. This is my 2018 temperature blanket. Oh yes, you heard me correctly. 2018. It has taken me 2 years to complete this blanket. Well, just over 2 years, as I began it on the 1st of January 2018. There is a row for every day reflecting the high temperature for that day, and I have put dividers in for the months and the quarters. I did it in 2 panels because I used DK weight yarn. I used Starcraft's DK, Starcraft Special DK I believe, which is 100% acrylic, and I know acrylic is not the best thing to work with because plastic, but for blankets there is a functionality to it. Plus I started this blanket before I started moving away from the acrylic yarns as much, so I used to do a lot of baby knits and blankets and that kind of stuff, where acrylic is more practical to give to somebody who doesn't knit or isn't as familiar with wool yarns. So it's done in acrylic. It weighs 1 kilo, so it's taken about 10 balls worth of yarn. I'll put a picture in rather than holding it up because it is huge. It is just about the right size to sit on top of a double bed without any drape over the sides. If I was to do another temperature blanket, I would do a different design. Much as I like this stitch pattern, my gauge did change quite a bit over the 2 years, so it was a bit of a pain to seam together and get that looking neat and how I wanted it, and there was a bit more of a difference in length than I anticipated. Obviously I expected there to be a bit of a difference because not all months are equal, but it was a bit bigger of a gap than I'd anticipated, so I would do probably a lighter weight yarn, and I would probably do the full width of the blanket as a stripe, or I would do like a square for each month or a square for each week or something like that, so that it goes together a little bit better at the end of the year. And that being said, I have enjoyed the process. The stitch pattern is easy to memorise. It's using American terms. It's 2 double crochet, 2 triple crochet, 2 double crochet, 2 single crochet, and you repeat that all the way along, and it gives you this wave effect, which is really nice. But I think the yarn was just too heavyweight for that stitch for a temperature blanket, because I had to split it into the 2 6-month panels. That being said, 2 years work done, dusted, and I'm quite pleased with that. Details are on my Ravelry project page, so I'll link that down below as well. And I can now get on to moving towards finishing the other blanket that I started at the end of 2017. It's also in acrylic, but yeah, acrylic has its place with blankets. They're not going to be washed very often, so it's not going to be sending much plastic into the ether. New blanket projects, I suspect I'll be doing more with wool-based yarns, but that's because I enjoy working with the wool-based yarns more than the acrylics. So that's a personal preference as well as an ecological advantage. Okay, so enough waffle about that one work in progress, and I'll move on to my works in progress. I'm only going to show you things that I'm currently actively working on or looking to finish in the next few weeks or month, because when I was planning for the year, I wrote out all of my works in progress for all my different crafts, all the things that I had planned for all of those different crafts, and it took up 2 pages of my bullet journal. 2 pages. And that's not even writing particularly big. So I'm not going to show you everything every podcast episode, because that would then make it a week-long episode, which is a little bit excessive. So first things first, let's look at some sewing works in progress, which I have just here. This is a fabric I've got from Minerva. It's a John Calder print in the Hermione colourway. I think the print's called Hermione, or the colour called Hermione. John Calder Hermione. And if I remember rightly, it's a viscose, so it's a nice drapey fabric, and I have made a wrap dress out of it, which is a pattern that came through with a magazine. So it came with Simply Sewing. So that's the pattern there. There is a dress and a top option with this pattern. It does run the risk of being a little bit dressing gowny depending on your fabric choices, but because it's a wrap dress rather than a separate belt, I think it works. They are referring to these sleeves as kimono sleeves, which a little bit cultural appropriation going on there, I think. They are grown-on sleeves in the style of a kimono, so it's more kimono inspired. This is clearly not a kimono. I am not going to be making a kimono because, quite frankly, when would I wear it? It's a fairly simple sew. I got this stitched up yesterday, so it's a few hours to sew it up. It does need hemming still on the sleeves and the hem, which is why it's a work in progress rather than a finished project. I do also have cut out in a shirting fabric, so a Lady McElroy shirting. Let's grab a bit of that. So this is the facing. So it's a striped shirting. Again, this is from Minerva. This is the top version. It's a bit more structured of fabric, so the feel of the top is going to be very different to the feel of the dress, but it is the same pattern. And those are both projects I'm doing for Minerva Makers, which is where Minerva sends me fabric, I make something, write a blog and take some pictures for them. So that's 2 Minerva projects out of the way, plus the one you saw over Vlogmas, my Joni dress, and the shirt that I made ages ago for my partner. I've got 1 more left to do, and then I'll be up to date on my Minerva make. So keep an eye out for the blogs for those in the next few months over on the Minerva website. So that's my sewing works in progress and my sponsored content for this week. I do have a couple of knitting works in progress to show you as well. So first of all, this is a long term, much longer term than it should be, work in progress, and it is in my Alice in Wonderland project bag, which I believe is a Clara Rose Crafts bag. If I'm wrong, I'll put the name on there. So it's handmade, bought it on Etsy. It's a great size for sweaters. I could probably fit a small blanket in there, like a lap blanket or a baby blanket, something like that. Not this monstrosity and not the other acrylic blanket I've got on the go, but yeah, it's a good size for sweaters and baby blankets. And it is worked in this beautiful super drapey yarn by Mirasol. Now, I'm not sure if with the current camera setup that you're going to be able to really read the labels very well when I show them like that, because it's a bit further away from me than usual, but we can deal with that in the edit if necessary. So it's a Mirasol yarn, it's called Sulka Legato, and it's Extrafine Merino, baby alpaca and mulberry silk, and oh my goodness, just look at the drape on that. It's fabulous to work with. To be honest, I picked it out because I wanted a neutral coloured sweater, but I thought if it's going to be neutral and I want to be grabbing for it all the time, let's have it in something that feels absolutely beautiful. So that's that yarn. I'm sort of caking it up as I need it. And in this yarn, I am working on a knitting expat design. So this is Parisian Dreams. Now, as you can see, I have got the body done and the shoulders are seamed together, everything is in place, ready to pick up for the neckband and the sleeves. So there's not that much left to do. I have modified the pattern slightly. The original design had another repeat of this triangular lacy pattern in the front. I have opted to cut that out so that I had a shorter sweater. It currently hits me around about the top of my jeans, so just below the waistband, top of my hips. I am anticipating a little bit of growth with there being the alpaca in the yarn and the lace pattern on the front, so probably slightly longer than that. But the repeat for my gauge is about 3.5–4 inches long, which would have made the sweater longer than I wanted to be able to wear it over dresses and skirts and things as well as trousers. So I have reduced that. I've also dropped the neckline down by 1 inch. The way I did that was by starting the neckline shaping 1 inch before called for in the pattern. So it takes out some of the stocking stitch that was between the lace pattern and the neckband, and then I've added that inch back in at the top of the shoulders. So the neckband is a bit deeper front and back. The back of the sweater is plain stocking stitch. So oh my goodness, this is so soft and gorgeous and drapey. I'm looking forward to seeing how much it grows. Didn't swatch for this one, so we'll see. My gauge is pretty much spot on though, because I was quite confident in just casting on this one, because every time I've knitted a knitting expat pattern, my gauge has come out pretty close to hers, whatever the yarn needle combination. I mean, we're talking within half a stitch, or stitch camping on and within half a row, which is the norm for me with finger weight and knitting expat patterns. I'm not so bothered about my row gauge being slightly out, because I knit to length generally. So I just need to pick up for my neckbands and sleeves, and actually down here you can see I've got my White Rabbit Progress Keeper. This is where I'd got to last time I showed you this sweater, and it's knit from the bottom up. So I have actually done a ton of knitting on this over the past month or so. So that's going to go back into its Alice in Wonderland project bag, ready for me to pick up things later on. Now in my upside down bag, that's not a good plan. Okay. So in my sheepy bag that I got from my sister and her partner, or her husband, for Christmas, and this came with a needle wrap as well. It's not the only yarny stuff I got for Christmas, but I'm not going to go through all the bits and pieces that I got. I got project bags and a knitting kit and a book. So I'll show you them as and when it's relevant. But in here I have my New Year's Eve cast on using my Kool-Aid dyed yarn. So we have Intergalactic Unicorn and Unicorns in the Mist, mainly named because I wanted to put them on Ravelry. And this is being held with some leftover mohair, which I don't have much left of, so this is going to be going on pause while I order some more. This is Drops Kid Silk in the pearl grey colourway, which I had left over from a shawl, which I was hoping would actually last the project, but hasn't quite. And I am knitting this up into a floof. It's on quite a short cable at the moment. Now you'll notice I only have 2 skeins of the colourways to use for this, so it's not going to be a full length floof. Floof is patterned by Skatten, Ellie. It's stocking stitch with mohair, and it's a contiguous shoulder, which I really wanted to try out. I was looking for something kind of shrug-like to knit up the Kool-Aid dyed yarn that I did during Vlogmas, but couldn't really find anything that I liked. But I really wanted to try out the shoulder structure and thought, oh, I'll do that, but I'll do it as a severely cropped sweater, and I'll knit the sleeves to whatever length I have yarn left over for. So that was New Year's Eve. I cast it on. I'm really pleased with how the yarn is knitting up. At the top here we've got Intergalactic Unicorn, and down the bottom I have faded in Unicorns in the Mist as well. So I'm going to knit in that for a while. I may or may not go back to the first colourway for the bottom, and then we'll see what happens with the sleeves once I get it to a length that I'm happy with. So yes, that's my little floofette, and I will link the details for that down below as well. And the base that I dyed with the Kool-Aid was Knit Picks palette, their bare version of palette. So that comes in 100 gram skeins, whereas the pre-dyed palette that you buy from them comes in 50 gram skeins. So I had 200 grams in total, which is significantly less yardage than the pattern calls for, which is why I'm not worried about doing it full length. Okay, so that is my finished objects and my works in progress, all done and dusted and showed for you, and I've got mohair all over my nose, nice and tickly. Okay, so 2020 plans moving forwards. Obviously I'm going to continue to be spinning and that kind of stuff. I'm not going to show you my current spinning projects because you've seen them before, so I'm going to wait until I've got a bobbin spun at least before I show them to you again. I've got 2 projects on the go and a few more waiting in the wings. So, as I say, I've got a huge long list of works in progress and plans and crafts I want to try out or develop my skills in throughout 2020. I am anticipating doing a fair bit more sewing this year because I want to upscale my skills in dressmaking in particular. I am able to make functional, wearable items, that's not a problem. But there are certain techniques that I shy away from, there are certain styles that I shy away from because I don't sew all the time. So this year I'm hoping to focus a little bit on that and develop my skills there. Obviously the knitting will continue. I am still working on my designs. I've got a sock design and a sweater design on the go. So they will be coming out later in the year. I am hoping, I've got a list of about 10 to 12 projects that are design projects for 2020, so I'm hoping to get 10 to 12 patterns out this year, which will be exciting. I'm looking to improve my spinning so that I can do more sweater spins and that sort of stuff on my drop spindle. I can't see me getting a wheel this year, I just don't currently have the budget for it, or really the space. So that's sort of my development side of things. Designing, sewing, spinning. I also want to try nail binding. I want to have another dabble with lace making. I've dabbled a little bit in the past, but not very much. I want to improve my weaving. I've obviously got my inkle loom and I've got my frame loom, but I haven't really used them that much, so I want to develop those skills. One day I would love to have a rigid heddle loom, but that's, again, something that's going to have to wait until I've got the budget and the space. I want to do a bit more felting, I want to do a bit of tatting. So yeah, there's lots of bits and pieces that I want to try out. We'll see how far I get through my list of things to try in 2020. But because I have this huge, massive, long list, I thought, right, I'm going to have to focus in a little bit to make it a little less overwhelming, a little less daunting when I look at my 2-page spread in my bullet journal of what I have to do craft-wise this year. So I thought, right, I've not done it before, but I'm going to have a go at Make 9 this year. I'm not going to pick out necessarily a specific pattern for everything. I'm going to think about the sorts of things I would like to make during the year as like my priorities for the year of things to make. So I'm just going to grab my bullet journal now to refer to it, and I will put up my Make 9 grid probably this side, or maybe that side. That's got a plain backdrop. It might go there, we'll see. Obviously now that I've got the dressmaker's napkin, which came free with the magazine subscription, it's not ideal, it's not like adjustable sizes or anything, but it'll help me hem. But now that I've got that in my backdrop, I need to think about where I'm going to be putting pictures. So maybe that side where it's plainer. So for my Make 9, the first thing that I put on the top, I've gone with sewing, accessories and house and that sort of stuff. Next line, continuing the sewing and the dressmaking, and then the bottom line I went knitting, crochet, because quite frankly some of those could be either. So starting at the top, a handbag. About 18 months, 2 years ago, I bought a Swoon Annette handbag pattern, and I've got some faux leather that I'm hoping is enough for it, and I'm planning to make that with some upcycled fabric from clothes that I don't wear anymore or dressmaking projects that I don't use anymore, so that I'm reusing that fabric rather than going landfill. I do need to get the fixings for that, but I am still planning to make that particular bag because I think it'll be large enough for me to comfortably put a knitting project bag in, as well as the other bits and pieces that I need to carry around with me when I'm out and about. My current handbag is just too small to do that comfortably. I can fit a sock project in there, but it's a bit of a squeeze. So that's my first thing on my Make 9, and it is one of the few that I have a specific pattern already picked out for and some fabrics in mind for. The next thing that I have on my list is for the house. Now, we're in rented accommodation, which means that all the walls are magnolia, all the carpets are beige, and the curtains are all beige as well. They're also not in the best condition. The bedroom curtains are fine, the craft room curtains are tatty and torn, and the living room curtains, where we have full windows with a sliding door, so we've got two floor to ceiling windows. They've got floor length curtains, but they're floor length curtains that are designed for windows, so the lining only comes part way down. So very early on, just when we moved in, we decided that we needed new curtains. I thought, right, well, they're not going to be too hard to make. They'll be quite simple once we find some fabric that we like, and that's going to straight away put our stamp on the room. So we've been here since June, so we've been here over 6 months now. I think it's now time to start making that personal touch to the home. So I am planning on making curtains for the bedroom, the craft room, the living room, and I also want to do like a cafe curtain for the kitchen. So I know that's quite a lot of fabric. I'm not planning on doing them in one go. I've never made curtains before, but they are rectangles of fabric that are hemmed, so they can't be that challenging. So I'm on the lookout for some fabric that's going to bring our personality into the rooms that we are living in and stop them being these beige boxes. I'm also going to be thinking about the sofa set downstairs. It's not on my Make 9, but I am planning on either recovering, as in reupholstering, which is a massive job, or making loose covers for the 3-piece suite, which we got from the British Heart Foundation for 50 quid, plus delivery, which is great. I mean, they do the job. But because they're from a charity store, they're not necessarily what we would have picked if we were buying new. They are also beige. So we're in a very beige house at the moment. So yeah, so recovering those is on the list, but not on my main night. It's not my main focus this year, partly because the cats are scratching at the furniture, and I'm like, oh, do I really want to take all that time and effort to recover them, to have the cats scratch them? But we'll see. So that's the first two on my make 9, handbag, curtains. Number 3, winter coat. I do have a winter coat, but the sizing on the coat that I bought for last winter, so 2018 into 19, came up a bit smaller than expected. So, I mean, the coat fits, it's warm, it does the job, but it's a little on the snug side, and it doesn't have a hood. It does have like fleece-lined pockets and a fleece-lined collar, so it is nice and snuggly, and it's quilted, and it's fine. But I do want to, in views of sort of upscaling my stitching skills, my sewing skills, I do want to have a go at making my own winter coat. Whether that would be a padded anoraki coat similar to the one that's in the picture, or whether it would be a more elegant wool coat, more sort of skirted, who knows. It may or may not have a hood. I haven't picked out the pattern yet, but I'm thinking I'm probably going to need to make a start on that late summer to have it ready for winter 2020. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. And moving on to the second row, again thinking about upscaling my sewing skills, my dressmaking skills. I want to make a pair of jeans. I find it quite hard to find good quality jeans that are cut to fit me well. It used to be that I could get them in Primark, which was fantastic, because Primark is cheap. So when I wasn't sewing, when I wasn't thinking so much about slow fashion versus fast fashion, Primark jeans, great, the cut is fantastic, and actually they lasted really well. Matalan is another store that I think is underrated in terms of price versus quality. Primark's quality's gone downhill a bit, Matalan doesn't seem to have. So the clothes that I've bought from there in the past have lasted well. But whilst they are the best fit that I've found, or at least they used to be, I haven't bought jeans in a long time, they're not perfect. So I'm looking for the perfect fit, and the best way to do that is to make them myself. So I am planning to make a pair of jeans this year. I may well need to invest in a rivet press in order to do that, or find someone who can lend me one. Because putting in jeans buttons, as I discovered when I was making my denim jacket, is a bit of a pain without a rivet press. So we'll see how that goes. The jeans have been on my list for a little while of things that I want to make, but this is going to be the year that I am intending on making a pair of jeans. I do tend to slob around in jeans and t-shirts and trousers quite a lot when I'm working at home, so they will fit nicely into my wardrobe anyway. So the next thing on my list has also been on my list for a couple of years, and that's a summer weight dressing gown, similar in style to the one that is pictured. I only currently have a fleecy, thick hooded winter weight dressing gown, but I'm looking for something a little bit more airy, a little bit more floaty to wear during the summer months. I do like to sling on a dressing gown after a bath or a shower and sort of float and faff around the house in them. So something silky, something drapey. So yeah, so that should be a fairly simple make. Similar lines in terms of the construction I would have thought to do a wrap dress, but obviously with a separate belt, difference of hemline, maybe floatier sleeves, we'll see. I don't yet have a pattern pulled out for that. Following the dressing gown, my last sewing dressmaking thing on my make 9 is some secret pyjamas. I have no idea what is going to be my secret pyjamas for 2020, but something comfy that looks presentable, that looks smart, but feels like pyjamas. That I can waft around the house and sort of lounge around if need be, but then still go out for a meeting or whatever, and not worry too much about what I look like. So that's the sewing, dressmaking, make 9 options. So moving on to my knitting crochet line. I mean, let's face it, these are probably going to be knitting rather than crochet, although they could be crochet because they're garments and crochet can be used for garments as well. First up, we have a Christmas sweater. The picture here shows Susan Crawford's Christmas sports set. It probably won't be that pattern. I'm thinking of designing my own Christmas sweater this year. This is something else I'm going to have to be doing over the summer if I'm going to design it, get it ready in time for Christmas and potentially release the pattern for it, because there will need to be time for test knitting and tech editing, that kind of stuff, before releasing it in time for other people to make it in time for Christmas. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that one. Following that, we have an all over Fair Isle sweater. Well, I say all over. I have had this particular sweater in my list, in my queue on Ravelry for ages. It's called Terra Nova. The name of the designer escapes me for the moment. It's not Jennifer Steinglass. Yeah, it's escaped me. I'll put the name on the screen and obviously I'll link to it down below as well. So I am thinking of doing that particular sweater this year. It does take 15 colours of yarn. So the sample is knit in Jameson yarn, which if you buy all 15 colours is going to work out quite expensive. So I'm either going to need to buy it in stages or use a different yarn. I haven't quite decided. And my final square on my make 9 is to knit a dress or tunic. The one I've shown here is a 7-day dress. Again, the name of the designer is escaping me, so I'll put that on the screen. But the reason I've put this dress up as my pattern idea, or my placeholder for that project, is because of the concept behind it. This dress, you knit the dress and then you knit buttonholes inside the hemline, and there are accessories like sleeves and collars and things that you button inside it, which I think is a great concept. I may or may not make this one because it's a lot of stocking stitch. I might design my own, or I may do both, who knows, but I thought that was such a fantastic concept for a knitted dress that I thought I would put that on there to sort of bring it to the public awareness a little bit more than it maybe is at the moment, because it's not a designer that I'm overly familiar with. So that's my make 9, that's my focuses for the year in terms of making. That's not to say that they will be the only things that I make, and I'm obviously not going to be starting on them straight away. I want to clear some needles off and get some of the design projects I've got on the go out and testing and ready to go, because quite frankly I wanted to get them done before Christmas and just haven't for various reasons. So that's my plans for moving forwards from a crafting point of view. From a you sew you point of view, obviously there are the designs coming. I am aiming for 10 to 12 patterns this year. We'll see if I manage it, but that's my plan. I would like to do more tutorials this year on techniques for all the different crafts I'm getting involved with. So I'm going to be doing some more weaving in order to get some weaving content up, not just in order, but when I weave I'm going to do some content. Some more knitting techniques, some crochet techniques, maybe some sewing techniques as well, as I'm levelling up my skills. So that's all great. Now, you might have noticed that this video has jumped a few times recently. That's because my phone keeps getting full, or the battery dies, or it plays up in general. So to be able to do effective tutorials, I am hoping to be able to upgrade at some point this year to a proper podcasting camera with a flip front screen, so I'm not mirroring it on my computer, which is why I keep looking over this way, so I can see that what I'm showing you can see how I want you to see it. So that I'd like to happen, but at the moment I again don't have the budget for it. I'm not yet at the point where I can monetize this channel, which is fine. I do it because I enjoy it. If I get there, I get there, and I get there when I get there. I do, however, have a Ko-fi account if you would like to support in any financial way. It's not a recurring payment or anything, it's like £3 cost of a coffee, a posh coffee at that. So if you would like to support in a financial way to help me bring more free content to the masses, by all means pop on over there, the link's below. But like I say, there's no obligation. I don't have a Patreon or anything with a subscription. So yeah, if you want to, and if you're able to, that would be great. I would massively appreciate it, but the content is still going to be here. So tutorials I'd like to build up a bigger bank of, with all the different crafts that I get involved in. I'd like to do a little bit more vlogging from time to time. I'm not going to do it all year round because my life's not that interesting, but I did really enjoy doing Vlogmas, so if life allows, I will do that again this year, depending on work situation and that kind of thing. But if I go to any yarny events or any sewing events, that kind of thing, I'd quite enjoy vlogging for those. The phone is fine for that because it's quite inconspicuous to be walking around filming on your phone because everybody's got one. The camera might be a little bit more obvious. I'm not sure I've got the guts to do that yet, but as my following grows, you never know, I might switch to using a camera for vlogging out in public as well. I don't currently have a hugely regular schedule for when I do these podcasts. I'm thinking that every week is going to be a little bit too much just because of the time it takes me to work on projects. You're going to be seeing the same thing with maybe a few extra rows on it each time. So I'm thinking maybe once a month do a sort of a roundup podcast like this, maybe every couple of weeks, depending on how much I've got to show. But definitely every month there'll be a what I've made, what I'm working on video, and then in between that, tutorials and other videos, other content. So that's sort of the channel itself, and the pattern designing, that kind of thing. Now I do have a Ravelry group for this channel, and it's not being used as much as I would like it to be at the moment. I would like to be able to hold knit-alongs and crochet-alongs in the Ravelry group. I would like to potentially at some point in the future, maybe 2-3 years time, do a mystery knit-along. But at the moment I don't have the numbers in that group to do that. So do feel free to pop along and join that group if you are a Ravelry member. I say I would like to be able to do giveaways and knit-alongs, not just on Ravelry, because obviously I know a lot of my viewers are sewists and embroiderers and that kind of thing, and weavers, so may not be on Ravelry, so yeah, I can use Instagram for that kind of thing as well. I do have an idea or two for make-alongs for later in the year, so keep an eye out for that. And giveaways, we are fast approaching 250 subscribers. Now, bearing in mind, I started this channel because when I talk to my partner about crafting, he rolls his eyes at me. And I wanted to be able to talk to people who were interested in what I was up to, were interested in what I was making. So I started the channel for that. I didn't really anticipate getting a massive following. Even 1 or 2 subscribers would have made me happy, because it just means that somebody out there is interested in what I've got to say. So I am so grateful for every single one of the 230 of you who have currently subscribed. When we hit 250, I am hoping to do a giveaway. I don't yet have a prize picked out for that, but that's something else that if you would like to help me boost that prize, then that would be something that Ko-fi would be appropriate for. But like I say, there's no obligation there. If I have no funding in the Ko-fi account, then I will just put something together myself anyway. It just gives me a bit more scope to do things. So it may well be a mystery bag of yarn left over from projects I've worked on. It might be something I've dyed. It might be something I've made. Who knows? So yeah, so 250 subscribers, I will be doing a giveaway, because that is far and beyond what I expected this channel to achieve. So yes, there's that. And yeah, as I say, plans for make-alongs later in the year. So yeah, there's lots of stuff that I would like to do. Please, please, please comment down below. Let me know if there's anything else that you would like to see on this channel. Any additional content that you'd like to see, any things that you've really enjoyed, because if you really enjoyed something, I can do follow-ons for it. I know the weaving videos have been popular, I know the spinning videos have been popular. There are more of those planned, but like I say, if there's anything in particular that you would like to see, pop it down below. That'll help me schedule out this year, and I will start picking out something for a 250 subscriber giveaway. And I'm going to start getting plans firmed up for my make-along ideas. I'm thinking towards the summer doing a make-along of some description in Ravelry, if I've got the numbers there, and on Instagram. So that's all I have for you for today. So until next time, have a fantastic one, and I will see you then. Like and subscribe, you know the drill. And yeah, bye bye for now.